Welcome to the IE427 Garage, buddy. Today I'm going to start the video off a little bit different. I am going to be heading over to our hose shop and having some fittings brazed on the ends of our power steering hose adapters, I guess is what we're going to call them. But then I'm going to probably jump back into working on the coupe. I'm going to go visit Dusty over at Alternative Hose and check in with him and drop off some parts for him. Okay, today we're at Alternative Hose in Ontario in their brand new store. Dusty, how you doing?
Good, Frank. How are you, Mike?
You okay with being filmed?
I am.
All right.
You're not gonna hurt nobody's feelings.
I got two. I need you to put,
JICNs on them?
yeah, -6.
Yep.
And then I'm gonna need some parts. I need some -6 male couplings.
Okay.
I need 4 of those, and then I need 4 sleeves
Okay.
and 4 nuts for those.
Okay.
And I'm just dropping those off.
Okay.
Do you have the other parts here?
I do.
I'll pick those up when I pick those up.
Sounds
Does that work with you?
Yeah.
So how you liking this new store?
It's pretty bitchin', man. How it's definitely clean and organized, man. How you been?
Good, good.
Good. Yeah. It's quiet for now, but there's definitely a buzz. So.
All right, much later in the day, it's afternoon, evening. I am here in the shop working on the coupe. I spent the day out with my folks today. My dad had some audio equipment he wanted hooked up for his living room, his home theater, and so I went out there and did that today. But I'm back here working on the coupe. I have to take off, or have taken off, these tunnel pieces because I need to source one more of these bolts. And you can see I left out probably one of the most important ones there. But when I initially picked up those bolts at the hardware store, I grabbed 6 of what I thought were 5/16 by 1 inch, and someone had thrown a metric bolt inside the bin, and I got back to the shop, and of course it was the wrong size. I think that's what it was, or maybe it was a standard thread. It was a different thread, regardless of what it was. So I'm pulling that off because I need to go and get some other parts for another project at the hardware store tomorrow. So I'm going to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. I'm going to stop in and pick up my parts over there at Alternative Hose from Dusty. I'm pretty sure they're done. And then I'm going to stop by the hardware store, and then I'm going to come back here to the shop and then work in the shop probably the rest of the evening. I'll try to get those fittings put on the front because I need to get those on and get the power steering hoses kind of in place so that we can get that front radiator tunnel kind of put together so that I can start working on placing the radiator and the radiator cooling fan in place. So I'll check in with you tomorrow Right, it's the next day. We are back at Alternative Hose. Dusty's working on my parts. Actually, he's got my parts here on the counter. He's working with a customer. But these are the fittings that he brazed on for us yesterday. So those are our 2 power steering adapters, and we're gonna get those put on the car. And then he got us some sleeves and some unions that we're gonna use on the fuel lines for the Decades Cobra. So we've got all that stuff pretty much ready to go. I got to pay for these, and then we're going to do a short tour of the store. All right, this is the store that Mrs. IE427 and I helped do like a remodel or a refresh on. They've got a nice little waiting room. Play some video games or watch some TV. They've got snacks for you. Place to sit down, take a load off. They really did a nice job decorating here too. So as you walk in, it feels nice. Then in the main store, the main part of the store, they've got some displays set up with parts for sale. Some stuff to clean yourself up with, hydraulic oil. All kinds of big fittings over here. So really a nice, clean, well-stocked store. All of their stores are nice. But then if you look here in the back, they've just got aisles and aisles of parts. Pretty much every hose or configuration of a hose you can think of, they can take care of. From small to large. And when I say they've got a lot of hose, you just look over here and there's just coils and coils of the stuff. Here's some of the lights that me and the missus put up. So we're kind of proud of the help we were able to give them here. All right, thanks, Dusty. I appreciate it.
You got it, Mr. Frank. Anytime.
It is the next evening, everybody. And I'm working on the coupe. Who would have thought? Music update. SRV. The house is rocking. I got some stuff done. I got the power steering lines all squared away in the front of the car, but I covered them so you really can't see them. So bringing them from the backside, we'll take a look at the hoses and kind of the way I had to do it. But I started on the radiator tunnel because what I want to do is I want to get the radiator set in here without getting too carried away with all my rivets. Now, I am not using any adhesive on these panels for the radiator tunnel. And here's my reasoning. I don't put adhesive on the nose aluminum of the Roadsters, the Cobras either, because there may be, easy for me to say, there may be a time in the future where you need to pull the radiator and this nose aluminum off and to have to deal with the mess of the adhesive as well. Just doesn't make sense to me. If there's a little rattle up there, because one of the rivets decides to work itself loose over time, it's not a big deal. You drill out the rivet, you put a new rivet in, you guys get that. So I don't like permanently affix these panels because there's a chance that they may have to come off too. Same thing with all these panels that are in the front. Like I generally don't put adhesive behind the like the splash panels on the Roadsters or the coupes for the same reason. You may have to take these off at some point to gain access to your headers or side of the engine and whatnot, and to have to deal with all that adhesive just doesn't make sense to me. Cockpit, anything to do with the inside facing panels of the car, yes, adhesive, because we're trying to not only combat rattles and squeaks, we're trying to keep air and water out. So it's a little bit different on those. But on these panels up here, I'm not too concerned about. I'm just going to rivet them in, and they're going to be fine. So let me sneak you in here and I'll show you. I had some serious issues last night as I was trying to fit these power steering hoses. I had one hose that the 90 AN or -6 end of it just didn't want to thread. Now it would thread on to a steel fitting, because I have steel fittings here, stainless steel fittings that I use for fuel lines and stuff, and it would thread on fine there. But every time I tried to thread it onto the aluminum threads of the tank, it wanted to cross thread. So much so that I finally got so frustrated with it that I screwed a 90-degree stainless steel fitting on there, swivel fitting, one, to alleviate the tension in the hose, which you'll see it's kind of messed up the way it kind of runs in the coupe. And two, to be able to thread the fittings on and not have them cross thread. So that's this upper fitting here. So you'll see right here, I've got a stainless steel 90 swivel that I put on here, then the 90 of the actual hose that comes with your KRC kit. And then I put the straight ends down there. And the reason I can put the straight ends down there is because, you know, we made our own adapters. And Dusty did a great job on those. As they went in, they screwed right on, no problem. I over-tightened one and I had to change out the Teflon seal, but I replaced it and it's fine now. So I got those in down there, and I'll take you around the other side to show you kind of what's going on there. And then I've got the pressure hose down here on the bottom. So it's everything on the pump side is ready to go. And then I used a couple of the double hose clamp aluminum things that I told you I was going to use. I had them left over. I used one on the top portion, and then I used one down at the bottom. So you can see one of those clamps. Let's see if I can get you in here. Right here. So it's just holding the two hoses together. And then I used another one down in here, and I don't think I'm going to be able to get the camera in there to see it, but it's down in there. And then right here you can kind of see my fittings. So I ended up with another 90-degree fitting right here, and that was just to keep everything away from the tunnel aluminum. So what I ran into is, even though I kind of figured out two different ways, I'm seeing if the lights are on. Yeah, but nobody's home. I'm seeing. I was seeing if configuring the hosins or the adapters that we made in different locations would help to keep it away from the aluminum. And no matter what I did, it was just too tight. By the time I screwed it in, the hose would have been kinked. And so I had another 90-degree fitting here. I used it. I put it on there. It's going to be fine. Both of those 90s that I added are in the return side. So there's not a whole lot of pressure in those going back. It just kind of, it's enough pressure to return the fluid to the tank. And so those are in. And then I've got to start pulling some of the stuff off that we had for the dyno. So I've got to pull this hose off because our heater hoses are going to route a different way. I've got to pull off this fitting here because that was just for the dyno as well. That was just a way for them to tie on their cooling hoses to the Coyote when we took it to them. I've got to pull the cap off here. So a lot of things that are kind of going simultaneously. But so I got the hoses done last night, and today what I figured I would do is work on the horn, which I'm going to have a hard time showing you because it's pretty well covered up now. And then the radiator tunnel. So I started working on that. I unpacked everything. I've got it in with as few Clecos as I possibly can use at this point so that I can figure out our radiator mount, see how our hoses, our cooling hoses, are going to go through these two holes, because I want to make sure if I have to clearance these holes at all, I want to do it before I permanently affix these panels. I do not want to have to clearance them in place because they'll just be that much harder to touch up. You know, if I'm going to touch them up with black paint versus, you know, the powder coat, I want to make sure that I have good access so that I can get in there, cover up the exposed aluminum, not that it's going to rust, but just so that everything blends in, and then make sure all that fits, and then go back and permanently affix the aluminum. I'm going to leave this top portion of the tunnel out as well. It's in here now, but I want to get our surge tank mounted, and so I need access to these two bars here because that's where I think I'm going to mount the surge tank to, and I got to figure out a way to support the bottom of it, which means I'm probably going to have to make a bracket that goes down to one of these vertical bars down here. So I don't want to permanently affix this and have it in my way as I'm trying to drill. If I have to tap anything, if I have to install any type of nuts or anything like that, I want access to it. So I'm probably going to do the surge tank tomorrow. I'm going to bring it down, see if I can work on that tomorrow. And then I've also got to figure out the kind of figure out where all my cooling hoses and whatnot are going to go. Now the horn mounted down in here, so it's right back here. You can just see the bell on the end of the horn right there. And I found that that was going to be the best place for us to mount it because I didn't want it seen, so I didn't want it over here, and I didn't want to have it exposed to any water or anything that the tire might kick up. I wanted it down low and I wanted it facing forward, so I managed to get it so where the horn portion of the discharge of the air horn is facing forward. And so that'll give a decent amount of horn volume when someone hits the horn, and you'll be able to hear it. So that's kind of where I'm at today. I don't know that I'm going to pick the camera back up tonight, but I'm probably going to go upstairs and start rounding up parts so that I can get that surge tank mounted in there tomorrow. So I will catch up with you guys tomorrow. Well, it's another day of misery here in the shop. I think that's what I'm going to name this car. I'm going to name it Misery. The day started out trying to get the coolant surge tank in. So there's the coolant surge tank, and you can see it's buried in a sea of radiator hoses. This is like every radiator hose that I have in the plastic tote back in the shop. And I've been trying to figure out how to get that surge tank to fit and get a upper radiator hose up and around it. And I think I have one. So that part I've kind of gotten past or worked through. But then I got down here to the bottom cool tube, and in order to get this thing to fit, because it has to come out here, go underneath that, in between those two tubes right there, right? Then it has to come up here, and to get it to fit where it needs to go, I need to move the two brake lines. So can you see the two brake lines there that it's resting against? So I should have moved that freaking brake line to get my battery tray mounted where it was supposed to be, and didn't, because I didn't want to redo the brake lines. Well, now I got to redo the brake line anyway. I had to remove the horn that I just put in last night, so I had just mounted this horn down low on the car, right down there, right where the coolant tube needs to go through. So this is why you can see, even with the best planning, stuff like this will end up biting you in the ass. And if I had run the brake lines, I may have put them in the same spot. I don't know. But I probably would have pre-fit all of this radiator stuff sooner. But because it's so frustrating. It's hard to even say, because the total disarray that this build was in when I got it. You know, it's like, where do you start? What part do you work on first to fix? And I don't know. I've just had a really bad day today, and I've already started drinking because I'm beyond words at this point. I've been back and forth with the car owner about these radiator hoses, and I just told him about the brake lines and the fact that I just put the horn in yesterday, had to remove that. Now I've got to pull the battery tray out to get the brake lines moved. I'm hoping that I can redo the brake lines in a manner to not have to pull the engine. I mean, that's where I'm at right now, because the brake line runs right down here. This is our brake line to the front. You can see it's already in the way of the oil filter. If the oil filter has to come out, or when it has to come out for an oil change, it's already in the way. So I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm looking into options. You know, I could cut the tube and then re-bead the two ends that I cut and move it out, but that's going to move it towards the battery. And I don't know how that, you know, that I have the room there for the battery and the cool tube to play nice together if I start, you know, moving it over. So I don't know. I think I'm just going to end the video here because honestly I need to regroup, and I need to get a game plan on this stuff because I continue to keep working backwards on this car, and it is just so frustrating. Yeah. So if you enjoy watching me struggle, please do the like, the share, the subscribe, all that kind of stuff. We'll see you next time, hopefully with some better news and some actual progress on this car. Have a great day.